Iron as a traditional construction material in Scotland has often been overlooked because of the predominance of masonry. But iron became an important construction medium in Scotland in its own right from the 14th, 15th century in elements of buildings up until the 19th century, where we had entire structures and buildings made of cast and wrought iron and steel.
Essentially, there are two types of iron, wrought iron and cast iron, both of which come from naturally occurring iron ore. Wrought iron is created by boiling and hammering iron time and time again to get rid of impurities. The result is a very pure form of fibrous iron that can be compared to muscle fibre. Cast iron is made by smelting iron ore in a furnace, then running off the molten iron into vessels called pigs, so called because they resemble suckling pigs. These pigs, or pig iron, can then be remelted and poured into moulds.
In the 14th, 15th century in Scotland, early uses of wrought iron are really found around doors and entranceways, and then into the early 16th century or late 15th century you start to see iron yetts, which are basically complicated iron grills appearing over doors and windows of fortified buildings. One of the key things about the manufacture of ironwork in Scotland and throughout Europe was the move away from charcoal smelting like we had over the west coast towards using coal and coke. And that was really started by Abraham Darby in Coalbrookdale, which led to the foundation of Carron in 1759.
The Carron Ironworks was a milestone in the development of the Scottish iron industry. Key to its success was its location in the central belt of Scotland, close to a plentiful supply of iron ore and the fuel to smelt it, and also the all-important transportation routes. The number of foundries mushroomed. The big blast furnaces of the central belt smelted iron ore and supplied pig iron to the many small cupular furnaces that set up throughout Scotland. These cupular furnaces resmelted the pig iron and made cast iron for a huge variety of uses.
Cast iron starts to influence our buildings very quickly, moving from decoration in terms of railings to internal structural support in columns and beams, but eventually moving to the outside of the building to mimic stone. So cast iron facades, particularly in Glasgow, have some wonderful examples in Gardiner's Warehouse and the Cadoro at the end of the 19th century, demonstrate the versatility of the material. Many people don't appreciate that Scotland was the world leader in the manufacture of architectural cast iron for around 50 years at the end of the 19th century. One of the tremendous examples that we've discovered only recently is the Perth Waterworks, which was erected in 1832, which I believe to be the first example of cast iron facade construction in the world.
Wrought iron and cast iron were not always mutually exclusive.
A good example of where we can see wrought iron and cast iron working together is in John Kibble's glass house in Glasgow Botanics. So there we have cast iron columns working in combination with wrought iron glazing bars. It's where the glazing bars have a ductile characteristic, they are flexible, where the cast iron columns are taking all the compressive load from the weight of the wrought iron that sits on top of them. Fortunately, we've identified all the really precious examples in Scotland of architectural ironwork. What worries me is the loss of the smaller items that we have in the streetscape. You know, the cast iron benches and lampposts and that type of thing, many of which were made locally. And it's important we don't lose that stuff.